Welcome to Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Glad you're still with us. Our guest is Joe Lyons. He is a member of the Claremont City Council. Sir, I'm glad you are here today. We've been speaking about redevelopment. As you know, the California Supreme Court recently upheld the elimination of redevelopment. What does that mean for cities like Claremont?
Well, for cities like Claremont, as previously mentioned, it really does prevent us from really incentivizing development opportunities, especially in the area of economic development. And so we're really hurting at this point.
And so does Claremont have any tools in its toolbox to incentivize developers to revitalize blighted areas or areas that may have challenges?
We do have tax incentives that we can give. For example, in the case of a retail sales outlet, we can pay back some of the increment of,
Sure.
Sales tax.
Right.
And that's one. The fact that everybody else is in the same boat also it gives us an opportunity again to sell Claremont as opposed to some other location that is.
So enterprise zones were not eliminated. Does Claremont have any?
No.
So you don't have that tool?
No.
What we do know is that there are several members of the legislature who are looking to revive redevelopment in some form. We also know the governor has been recalcitrant, to say the least, to keep redevelopment alive, especially since the California League of Cities challenged the compromise, which would have kept it alive in some form, and the Supreme Court struck that down. Yes. So, do you believe that there may be some type of revival, resurrection of redevelopment?
I'm certainly hopeful, and I think if the cities do in fact unite in their effort to put pressure on the legislature, they have a better opportunity. Again, there's a coalition primarily of Republicans, but certainly a large number of Democrats that felt the heat when they voted the way they did.
Well, this is interesting because if you look at redevelopment, it is a program that benefits really urban cities. And urban cities tend to be dominated by Democrats. So in a lot of ways, this was a Democratic type program. Some would say it's a Democratic program that benefits Republican developers, but be that as it may, the politics here feels very contrarian in a way. It's Republicans benefiting urban centers?
Yes. And I think therein lies where the heat can come from, is that it was unpopular when it was first suggested. It was even more unpopular when it was passed. And no one really anticipated the Supreme Court decision coming down the way it was.
Well, at least as it related to the compromise.
Yes.
Which brings up the good point, because there was this formula whereby the state would receive funds from the city, from their redevelopment agencies, to keep the agencies alive. That was struck down because of a proposition passed in November 2010 called Prop 22, supported by cities. Cities didn't want the state to be dipping into their coffers, and yet that very proposal was used against
That's correct.
cities.
And again, that was where we thought we had our sanctuary, was in being protected by that. Again, the Supreme Court decided that, in fact, this was not a case that was protected by that, and we're still hoping that.
So what are you doing, royally you, to talk to the legislature? Because it has to start there.
Right. We are a member of a number of organizations of cities that we promote that position through, and they're being requested that we actually take an initiative on our own to send a similar letter objecting to and stating our reasons why this has had such a negative impact.
Okay, his name is Joe Lyons. He is a member of the Claremont City Council. My name is Brad Pomerance. I want to thank you so much for watching Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. We're going to send you back to HLN.